Hey everybody, welcome to the Away from the Rink podcast. This is Gio. Just so you know, everything we talk about here is our own opinion and doesn't represent any organization or sponsor. Listener discretion is advised. If you want to reach out, check the link in our bio or email us directly at afterpodcastofficial@gmail.com. Are you guys ready to rock and roll? Let's go.
We're back at the studio by Showtime. Honestly, this place makes everything easy for us. If you're serious about starting a podcast, stop waiting. Book a session at the studio by Showtime. That's where we record, and they'll take care of everything for you. You can reach out to them at thestudiobyshowtime.com. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Away from the Rink After Podcast. Host DJ McGrath, got my co-host Giovanni Flaminio. G-Bones, how you doing today, brother?
Hey man, doing really good. Grateful to be on. No, we're one guy short today, but I think it's a cool opportunity to get real here, man. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, I think we're going to do this once a month. We always tell our guests to come in, share their stories, be vulnerable. That's what saved my life. That was a big majority of your recovery, is being vulnerable. Talking about the real shit. Now, I know I personally tell people to talk about that real shit, man. Just talk. And I think this is going to be good. I think we're going to do one a month with this, and we're going to have some real talk. This is a real, raw, honest. I don't know what G's going to be asking me. Likewise, G doesn't know what I'm going to be asking him. So there's a couple questions we're going to be talking about. And like I said, this is unfiltered, raw, honest. A couple men, especially, talking about shit. I know we were having a little chat before. I'm nervous. This is kind of stepping out of my comfort zone. I don't know what G's going to ask me, but this is the whole point, is two men, two former hockey players, went through addictions, went through drugs, alcohol, and now we're sober. Now we're giving back, started this podcast, and it's called Away from the Rink. Time to talk about the real shit. So I think this is going to be exciting for both of us and going to help out somebody, right?
100%, man. Yeah, and I think you said it best. Like, we challenge our guests that come on to have this dialogue, right, and be as honest and real as possible. And I know we get to share a little bit with having a guest on, but I think today it's like you said, it's outside the comfort zone. I'm a little bit nervous too, but I think that can be a good thing when you're trying to share on some emotions and whatnot.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think we're going to get her started here. G-Bones, I got a question for you, man. Obviously, you're a man. Obviously, it's sometimes hard to show feelings and emotions, but what's one of your biggest insecurities right now?
Yeah, wow, right into it. Hey,
we're getting right into it.
I love it. Dude, you hear this term like imposter syndrome, and for me that's probably the biggest one. Like, I don't think I belong where I do. And I think that is, qualifies as an insecurity for sure, because as you know, I'm involved in the recovery community locally. I'm involved in the hockey community now, just a year into that, coaching again, have a family. I've got a lot of things back in my life, or earned a lot of positives in my life. And I think sometimes when I fall short, whether that's being impulsive on the home front, or feeling like shit, not wanting to show up for a particular day, I start to question if I belong where I do. And that's a tricky one, man, because I'll sometimes let it really impact me, not just for several minutes or an hour, but sometimes days I'm sitting in that. I'm insecure about the man I'm becoming, if that makes sense. Yeah, I just don't truly believe I belong sometimes. And I know it's just my mind. It's just, my addictive mind telling me that. But sometimes it's just much harder to get out of that mindset, and that's a big struggle for me.
Yeah, thank you, obviously, for sharing that. And I could relate with you. Myself, I've been insecure with, obviously, myself, what other people think of me. That was a big thing for me. I was always wanting to impress everybody. I didn't want anyone to think less than myself. So I always tried to, I never really filled up my own cup ever. It was always filling up everybody else's cup, and always so worried about how's DJ on the ice, how's DJ away from the rink, how I dress, how I look. It always bugged me. And now I'm sober. Obviously, I'm working on it every day, but I'm always still so wondered what people are thinking about me now going to a rink. I know I'm doing some good stuff, but even when I go back home to my hometown, what are my buddies that know me when I was a kid, knew me when I was struggling, and now, like, what are they thinking about me now that I'm doing what I'm doing? I always think about that. And obviously I'm getting better at the social media stuff. I talk about my feelings, I talk about my emotions, but it's still, I still get that feeling of what are they thinking of me when I'm talking about that kind of stuff? Is DJ a puss? Is DJ a wimp? Like, why is he talking about that? I still get that imposter syndrome, obviously, 2G showing up to a rink. You know, I'm not just DJ the hockey player anymore. DJ, I'm DJ the mental health guy. You know, I'm always so wondered what are actually people thinking about myself when I'm present in front of them. You know what I mean? Another big thing is too, when I'm out, I have buddies that drink. I have buddies that, you know, that didn't have a problem, that are okay with drinking. I still struggle with people acting different in front of me. When I go out, say we're going to a restaurant, I get asked, hey, Deej, is it okay if I have a drink? Is it okay if I, you know what I mean? It still kind of bugs me because I don't want to feel different. But I still get that feeling too, or I tell people when this happens, be yourself, man. Like, I don't want you to change because it makes me feel worse that I'm sober and other people got to act different. But that's kind of insecurity. I don't know if something that I'm working on that, but I don't know if that's something that's going to fix right away, because what I do, man, it's still stigma. It's still out there. I'm obviously getting a lot better at not giving a shit what people thinking about me, but it's just, I think it's something that's I've been dealing with for my whole life pretty much.
Yeah, and yeah, thanks for sharing, man. I think like you said it best just at the end there. Like I don't know if that ever goes away, dude. I used to think that yeah, maybe you reach a point like, you know, spiritually or just being like so grounded that you're able to just like deflect that at will, but I don't think in today's society that's ever going to go away, especially, you know, guys like us where we're trying to be, you know, in the community more, helping the youth, whatever the case may be. You know, you're going to be in those types of situations. And yeah, just to give you some feedback on what you said too regarding like the social settings, when people ask that, that annoys the shit out of me,
Yeah.
man, because like sure, early on, like brand new to recovery,
Yeah.
of course, like I
Yeah.
can respect it to some level, but and especially with alcohol, not to get too far ahead of it, like if someone was putting a plate of pills in front of me, that's a little bit different
Yeah.
story, right?
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna request they don't do that, but social settings, out to eat, people having beer or wine, I mean, by all means, don't let me prevent that. I can still be in those settings and share some laughs as well, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
without having to be intoxicated. So it's all good in that sense, man. I want to ask you one, dude. This is a big one that it took me a while into recovery to even take a look at this, man, and I was curious where you're at with it, but this shame piece as men, we did a lot of stupid shit, man, coming through the ranks, right? Even dating back to like our childhood. But I want to talk probably more so about the dark addiction days and maybe some things you did. You don't have to list them necessarily, but to the point where you're still carrying them today, man, or it comes up, and it kind of ties into what you asked me, but just to where, oh, fuck, I can't believe I did that, and that shame piece still can get in your head and sort of convince you that it defines you when it shouldn't, right? Does that still impact you, man?
Yeah. And I'm gonna share a story because right when you kind of brought that up there, I was growing up, man. I was such a loving kid. I was raised really well by my mom and dad. Obviously, looking up to my two older brothers, we were really respectful, and I had a lot of friends, and that's because I was a leader and I was a very positive kid, and I looked after others. I like to think I liked to look after others when I was a kid. And then I got older and obviously addiction came to me, and I was always so scared. I didn't want people to find out I was struggling. I didn't want people to find out I was an addict, I was an alcoholic. And I remember, man, I was in Saskatoon, so I don't really share this much in my story, but when I quit college hockey in Red Deer, I came home for a little bit and I had to get out of Kinnersley again because I was in the oil field, wasn't finding a job that I like. So I ended up going out to Saskatoon and ended up selling vehicles for Jubilee Ford in Saskatoon. And I was heavily into my addiction, man. I was doing cocaine, drinking every day. And there's a couple hometown boys that obviously didn't do drugs, hockey guys that I hung out with all the time back in the day. Obviously, with my drug and alcohol, I disappeared. Obviously, I didn't want to surround myself with those guys because I was doing what I was doing to myself. And I remember I was in Saskatoon and the boys gave me a phone call. I was super pumped and they were going to come up for the weekend and we were going to go out. We went out to Hudson's. We were going to go out for a nice supper and hang out. And I was like, hey, awesome. And I remember I went and got drugs that day. It was on a Saturday. I was high even before they came out there. And then obviously when you're high coming down, you're hiding. The come down stage, I'm not feeling too good. I don't want to go out for supper with these guys. And I remember we were out for at brew house and catching up or whatever. And I remember we didn't even order our food yet, man. I remember I said I was going to go to the bathroom and I did the exit. I remember going to the bathroom and then I needed a fix. I needed drugs. And I remember I left these two guys, didn't talk to them, nothing. And that still haunts me, man. Reconciling relationships is, I get emotional even talking about this already, man. Like drugs and alcohol changed people so much. Such a loving guy to stabbing my good friends in the back. I still deal with that today. I got a best friend I did have a best friend who's out in Arizona right now still. I wish I could reconcile with him. But yeah, just stories that I think about now where I'm like, fuck, Deej, why did you do that? But again, man, that's something that, we got to forgive ourselves. And yeah, I'm close with those guys again. Obviously, I stepped out of my comfort zone. I was being a man because the big thing when you get sober is you got to go out and say sorry. You got to somehow try to reconcile with the person that that you let down. And that's super fucking hard when you're sober, because especially being a man doing those things. And I did that and we're good, but still, man, that's still a certain story. There's plenty more stories of I look back and be like, why did you do that, DJ? Not going to birthday parties, not going to weddings. My first cousins, never going to weddings and blaming others for me not going. So yeah, man, that's just one story that I could share. Definitely haunts me today. But yeah, what about you, man?
Yeah. Wow. Again, yeah. Thanks for sharing. It's you brought up some interesting stuff there towards the end, especially with the, in the 12-step rooms, we talk about the amends, right? These amends of the people we've harmed, and like, fuck, man, that's been hard. Like I'm still doing that. Years into this journey of recovery, I'm still amending some of those harms, especially to those closest to me, right? And yeah, for me, man, you also touched on relationships, and like that's the big one for me is my relationships, particularly with my daughter's mothers and my two girls. Just how I was convinced for so long that that having what I anticipated being healthy relationships would clean up my addictive tendencies. Do you know what I mean? If I can just be happy in these relationships, or when both my daughters were born, convinced I'm not going to use anymore, or at least I'm going to control it better. And it was just, completely delusional, man. Addiction's a powerful thing, right? My kids can't keep me sober. And I think a lot of people look at that and they're like, oh man, you're weak-minded, or that's a choice. And it's like, man, I didn't choose to be an addict. Yes, it's my responsibility to recover, but I did not choose to have the mind I do. And so yeah, man, for the shame piece, like I was saying, how I still carry that, it can creep back in for just, situations I put my kids in, the abuse to both my kids' mothers. That's fucking hard to look at, man. You know what I mean? Like
How are those real conversations though? Let's dive into this, G.
Yeah.
Let's go back to when you had to have those conversations. Obviously, you did shit during your addictions. Obviously, you had to reconcile with the moms, right?
Yeah.
How was that? How was it talking about that, saying sorry and all that shit? That's tough.
Yeah, it was hard, man,
Yeah.
and super uncomfortable. I remember with my oldest kid's mother, my ex-wife, and I would say like solid relationship today, but it took a lot of time, and I don't know if trust will ever fully be restored, right? But I remember, and again, done multiple amends with each partner because relapse is part of my story, and there's been more harms caused after amends, and it's just like, fuck, man, like you got to get it together. And so I really question myself at times, back to that initial question, right, of like this imposter syndrome, because it's like, when are you going to fall short again? But yeah, I remember with her, specifically, like, there was a letter process involved. I had been in treatment, and they encouraged me to put a letter together and read it to her in person. And I was shaking, dude. I was literally shaking. And like, you don't want to relive all these traumas necessarily, but you take accountability essentially, because sorry doesn't work anymore, right? With these people, man, even like with my parents and stuff, I've said sorry countless times. It's more about like recognizing what you did, taking that accountability, and here's what I'm doing now instead.
Yeah.
And then the other big piece of the amends that is allows me anyways to let go is just that question at the end of like, hey, is there anything else I can do to rectify these wrongs? Asking them. And as much fears went into these, man, I think again, at least for me, it's always gone better than I thought it would, right? I was worried about like, them, yelling in my face or just, calling me a piece of shit or whatever it was. But I think there's a respect there that you're actually willing to do the next right thing. But yeah, man, but honestly, some of the hardest conversations I've ever had to have, because I have to take accountability for that stuff. As much as I just want to shove it and not ever have to fucking discuss it again, I have to take accountability for it and then explain what I'm trying to do now to be a better man. And fuck, man, that's hard. And then with my kids, I'll share this one last time with my oldest, man. I got to do a first ever amends with her last year in person. And I broke down, man.
Wow.
It was, we did it in the vehicle. And I just told her, I said, I wasn't present for the first half of your life. And I said, but I want to do everything I can to be the father you deserve. And then again, that question, is there anything I can do, to help solidify that with you? And again, I'm in tears trying to hold it together because it's my kid, right? I just want to like keep it together. And you could just tell, man, it's just loving. She was just like, no, Dad, I love you. Like, thanks for saying that. And as simple as that response was, man, it was just like one of the more healing things ever, and like motivating to continue to show up. So shit, man.
That's deep,
it's
dude.
crazy to relive it. That was just last year, but even as healing as it was, you sometimes forget about that stuff, right? Because those are hard combos, brother.
Yeah, and especially to your daughter. And yeah, man. And what I got out of that, I got a whole bunch of stuff, but that overthinking part, man.
Oh yeah.
If I could be the first guy, I'm a big overthinker of certain situations, and I think about the absolute worst, and I think about the absolute worst in every situation that comes to me, man. That's why I was so used to fucking just easy exit, grabbing drugs, grabbing alcohol, just to freeze those feelings. But I'm the first guy to admit, man, like when certain situations come to me, I pick up my phone and I call. I call someone in my support group. My mom's a big part of my life, man. Like I'm a guy that can't handle, I could handle it, but I just like, I hate when something big comes at me, and I just can't deal with it on myself. I almost lost my life because of me thinking I can, and then overthinking that little voice. That's why I'm a big believer, man. And I still work on this. Like a lot of people lose opportunity by not going for something because of that little voice telling them the absolute worst. So you want to step out of your comfort zone because it's tough to try something new. Like when I started this journey, man, of speaking, fuck, like it was the scariest thing I've ever had to do. No one did it at that time. No one shared their feelings and emotion. It's the scariest thing. It's step out of your comfort zone. But I've learned like when you do that, that's when opportunities come. But man, there's been so many times where I would delete videos and do retakes because I'm so worried about what Johnny's thinking about behind the camera and everything. And overthinking, man. I think that's a lot of people do deal with that stuff, hey?
Oh man, yeah. And to the point, like I think it ties into our I always bring up the mental side of addiction. I don't think people realize that. They think it's like, oh, we were addicted to
Yeah.
substances and we used, but like really it was our solution at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
That was the solution to not fucking feel how we felt. But it really stems in the mind, and that's a factual thing. But yeah, it's that obsession piece. I'll go into obsession mode, and these scenarios, I can get into these wild ass scenarios, man, down the rabbit hole, so to speak. And you touched on that phone, the 30-pound phone, like our Eagles brother talks about, right?
Yeah.
That's the honestly, bro, that's like maybe the strongest tool I have in the arsenal, and I still don't utilize it sometimes. I still like, it's almost like I get relief of like living in the chaos, or there's comfort in the suffering, dude, if that makes sense. And like that's even lately I've gone into that where I just like sit in it and won't reach out. And sure, I've got like the coaching or like this endeavor that we're on that are healthy outlets. Sure, it can help me distract from it. But yeah, I'm still really bad at overthinking, like you said, and fucking obsessing over shit for the wrong reasons, man. And it gets me into trouble mentally. And then it just, and then it spirals. And then it goes into all the shit we've already talked about. I'm not good enough. I'm inadequate as a man, as, you know, as a someone who wants to help people with mental health and addiction, as a coach. Like, what are the parents thinking about me? You know,
Yeah.
all that shit, man. And it's like, at the end of the day, bro, like we're imperfect, and I don't like to always make comparisons, but like look at where we were 10 years ago,
Yeah.
right? And it's like
It's
fuck,
hard.
man.
It's hard to. It's sometimes I gotta look at myself in the mirror too,
Yeah,
for sure. Like you know what I mean, and exactly what you just said there, and that's going to lead to my next question, G,
sure.
because this is an important question because I think a lot of us deal with it, especially when we're sober. Have you? When was the last time? And two-part question: was the last time you felt like quitting, relapsing? This is a hard question, but felt like quitting, and how did you overcome that? There's probably people need to hear this because I go through it. You obviously go through it. When was the last time you felt like quitting, and how'd you overcome it?
Today, man, this
Yeah.
weekend. Today and this weekend, yeah, white towel, surrender flag, however you want to phrase it. I'm a runner. I'm a fight or flight guy. And sometimes the fight side of it can be good, where you're willing to put in the work and do the right kind of fighting to grow and overcome shit. It doesn't always have to be like that negative, like fuck you fighting mentality. But when the flight side kicks in for me, again, I'll obsess and spiral. And yeah, I'm gonna leave, you know, abandon my kids, my relationship, all those that love me, you know, move to another country. And that's in the moment that can seem
Does
like the
that happen
best.
on a regular basis, or is that?
Not a regular basis,
Yeah.
dude, but more than it should.
Yeah.
Could probably, you know, a couple times this year already. And it's just, again, I think it's selfish and self-centeredness, but it's just me going into that mode and questioning everything. You brought up that comparative piece before. Like I'm comparing. I'll get into that mode, and then I'll go on social media or whatever and be like, oh, look at how good that person's doing, who maybe had similar struggles to me. And again, then I paint this picture of how successful or content they maybe are, when I don't even really truly know. I'm not even necessarily close with this person. And the people I am that close with, like yourself, we know the struggle exists.
Yeah.
That's the thing, man. So yeah, the mind's just so fucking powerful, man, because it'll convince me I'm not good enough. And like you asked, man, just quit it all. Not just like one thing, or maybe I need to like reconsider the relationship with my partner or doing this podcast with you. It's everything. I don't it's all or nothing, fight or flight, like I said. And I hate that. I hate feeling that way. But
So
again,
what are you doing to help yourself? Like, what are you doing?
yeah, like that picking up the phone piece we talked about before, that kind of, not kind of, that usually always talks me off the ledge. Sometimes it's just a quick reset, you know, just go for a walk outside, breathe, reset. But honestly, bro, like this go around, like today, it was like, let's just move our feet and stay busy. We know we've got a good conversation with a close buddy coming up here. That may be hard and uncomfortable, but we've done enough of these now. I know they help me.
Yeah.
And then I get to go coach hockey after this and be around kids I love, and part of a sport that's given me so much. So that was kind of, honestly, bro, like short term, that was the solution today.
Yeah.
Like, I hope this stuff makes me feel better, because I know it's purposeful, and I'm just gonna, again, just like we do in recovery, just for today, right? I'm just gonna get through today.
Yeah.
And then for me, it's kind of a nervous system thing, not to get like deep into it, but just once I can just calm down and feel more content, then I can actually maybe look at a bigger solution. What do I have to do to be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, man? Because again, not to paint a picture of you, but I know you're pretty good, not just from social media and stuff, but we talk almost daily, and it's like, it seems like you're doing really good, man, you know, and you're doing stuff that you're passionate about. But yeah, does that struggle still come up, and do you think about just fucking running away sometimes, dude?
Yeah. I have been good, man. Obviously I do have my days. There's days I think it's normal where I do want to throw in the towel. Some days I wish I should go back to a 9 to 5, get a consistent paycheck. I'm stepping into a field that's not really talked about. That's, I'm going around and speaking to schools and hockey teams and doing all that. It's tough, man. Going back to what you said about the comparison on social media, I'm getting better at that, but it's still hard. I'm a human. I'm a man. I'm the only one kind of in my own circle doing the DGMH thing. I don't have any assistants or anything. So it's hard. I'm learning. And like you said, I do take it one day at a time, but it's again, man, I wake up, I still struggle. It's not like it's a flick of a switch or everything is okay. I still have my days, but I know how to deal with my thoughts and feelings. Obviously, like you said, go for a walk, go to the gym. And I'm big on accountability. Most of you guys know I didn't do counseling or rehab when I got sober, which I'm not against. I didn't know the knowledge at that time when I got sober in Kinnersley. And I tell people I'm thankful I shared my story when I was 3 months in, because I was ready to relapse. And it was that time where it's because I didn't know what to do. I was slowly going for a walk, slowly find my routine. I'm sitting in Kinnersley trying to get sober. And it was really hard because you can't get sober hanging out with the same friends. So out of be lonely. It was lonely for me the first while being in Kinnersley, having my parents and whatnot. But I had to find ways to stay sober, man. And thank God goodness I shared my story, because now I have a sense of purpose. Like I was telling you, G, how we go back and forth of finding a sense of accountability and purpose. I'm thankful I fucking shared my story and doing what I'm doing, because now if I do relapse or if I do fall off the trails, I'm letting not only DJ down, but I'm letting people that I've helped or people that follow me and look up to me of doing what I'm doing. So thank God, thank goodness I have that, because if I was a guy who got sober and just went to a 9 to 5 job and didn't do anything for myself, I don't know if I'd be here today the way I am, being almost 4 years sober. So yeah, man, there's days where I want to throw them in. I'm trying my best not to compare myself with others. Obviously, us men or people in general, we want everything to happen. We want everything to happen tomorrow, be successful and everything. But I've learned in my journey that it's patience and just being real. I know because there's a lot of people that, are totally different on social media than they are in real life. And thank goodness I was told early, just be yourself. And that's what I do. So it's tough, man. My journey has been tough, and I'm just going to continue to do it one day at a time. But lately, man, I've been happy, and I found ways that help me stay happy. And people that follow me is the biggest thing, is to find your people. I'm big on that, man. It's better having 4 quarters and 100 pennies. I say that all the time, weekly, because it took me a long time to find my people, because I had to go down that lonely path when I got sober. But when I did, people who like me for DJ and me not being someone different when I'm around them, I could talk to them about anything. That really helps me out, and just having the right people in my corner to tell DJ, you're doing good things. I have to be constantly reminded I'm doing good things, because I still am very hard on myself and my past still comes up. So I don't think I'm doing enough. It's kind of scary, man. That mental health classic tournament after, people, congratulations. I still don't think I don't know if it's from my past and where I'm ever going to be content with myself, which I'm working on that. But yeah, as of late, man, I've been happy.
Yeah. It's humbling though, that stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
all the validation we got before, I feel, was like centered around hockey
Yeah.
or girls or whatever, but that culture and just like succeeding within that culture. And yeah, man, you go through some darkness and then try to come out the other side of that.
And
It's
that's okay.
for sure,
You
but it's
know?
it's still weird for me too to get
Yeah.
like compliments for like a coaching angle, or like
Mhm.
people I'm helping to try to recover from addiction. And it's just like, yeah, I don't know, man.
That's why it's that self-love, man. Just working
It's
on
big.
yourself every fucking day.
It's
Like
big,
you
dude.
can't take a day off. You
No.
you can't.
And I want to share this quick, man, just with people who are struggling or maybe new to recovery, because I think this is so important. Like I used to think, because I did do the
Yeah.
treatment and therapy
Mhm.
and then the 12-step programs, and still I'm involved in those things, and that has worked for me. But I used to think, because it was the only way that worked for me. It was the only way to do it. And I was like really close-minded to it now. And now I'm the opposite, dude. It's like I can take bits from here, bits from there, incorporate it into my recovery journey. And that's currently what works best for me, you know? And it's not that I used to like judge you because you didn't like come to the rooms and stuff. I actually admire it because you found your own way. But I just want to share that with anyone who's struggling or thinking they don't know where they belong or what should I do, or maybe this place isn't for me. And it's like recovery is a personal journey.
Exactly.
And there's a bunch of different ways to get sober.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
And I'm glad you said that, G, because I had someone reach out to me and ask me if I had schooling.
Yeah.
And I had a great conversation. I spoke in St. Brew, and there was another speaker there that was doing mini class sessions, and he kind of came up to me and was like, "Hey man, like, what's your thoughts on not having any schooling? Because I'm kind of doing what you're doing." He said, I'm helping out these athletes. I have life experience. He played pro, he played in the SJ and stuff. And this is to anybody listening out there. I think the number one thing is having life experience. Yes, it's great having and schooling and everything, but if any of you guys out there that are getting sober and want to do something, want to help, give back, have that sense of purpose, share your story. I am so big on that. I don't care if you don't have schooling. The number one thing is having that school. Or is having that life experience, sorry. So if any of you guys out there too, if you don't know what to do and you're trying to find ways to get sober, share your story, talk about it, download stuff, and be vulnerable, because there'll be one person that could be listening that could reach out to you and you could be saving their lives, or thank you for sharing that. That's what happened to me, man. When I shared my story for the first time, scariest fucking hardest thing. I'm sitting in Kinnersley, Saskatchewan, not thinking anyone was going to listen, but that one person reached out and said, "Thank you for sharing your story. This is what I'm going through." And I'm like, holy shit. Like, A, I'm not alone. B, I have a sense of purpose now. Now I help somebody. Then that just elevated. So I encourage people, I don't care if you don't have schooling, if you have schooling, if you have life experience and you don't know ways of either way of helping or doing something to stay sober, try to get that sense of purpose back, get that sense of accountability back, and share that fucking story, because it saved my life, G.
Yeah, 100%, man. And it's that service, that service piece.
Yeah.
And I was the same way. Cause again, back to our previous lives, with hockey being centered around hockey, that's what the purpose was. And then boom, suddenly kind of for both of us, it's kind of just over in an instant.
Yeah.
And now what? And shit, dude, I went multiple years before I found recovery after my career.
But was there any help out there right after the career? Where's the help for these athletes when they're done?
No, man. I mean, we had obviously NHL has NHLPA. We had the, Professional Hockey Players Association. And sure, there was some resources, but, you'd like, maybe if someone would have reached out directly and been like, "Hey, I saw you're hanging them up. What's going on?
Yeah.
How can I help?" I'm not saying that would have prevented years of addiction, but it was just, I wasn't in a place to even accept help necessarily or go online and see what my options were, right?
Yeah.
It was like that masculine thing, which I want to talk about today some more. It was like, get a job, provide for your family. Yeah. Hockey's over. And I didn't even have time to process, dude. It was like right into that. No purpose. Sure, fatherhood is a purpose in its own right, but I'm talking like true, genuine, everyday purpose beyond family. And for me, I didn't find it till I got sober, man. And now it's the same as yours. It's helping people.
Yeah.
I can, and it ties into everything we've talked about today too, with that accountability piece and not wanting to run away and not wanting to fucking throw in the towel, because there's people who are counting on me. Yeah. There's people I'm currently helping, and what happens to them if I fucking fall off the map?
Yeah.
And so, as tough as things are, man, that service piece is so vital, bro, to keep us well. It's like, it's strange how it works, right? Like there's a saying in the recovery rooms, like, keep what we have by giving it away. And it's like, holy shit, like that's exactly what it is, right?
Yeah. And I think it's important too. It's good having NHLPA. It's good having the mental health organizations for these athletes to go to. But I don't want to say it the wrong way, but athletes it's still a stigma going to these organizations because the fear of the word getting out of that organization. When you have athletes who are not associated with the hockey team, but played and been in these kids' shoes, where they're not hanging around the rink, but know and know their story, and they have that access of reaching out to that particular person. Fuck, man. Because I remember when I was in Everett and there was a mental health performance coach, and we had to meet this older gentleman in a hotel room once a month. And this is when I was struggling, but there was no chance in hell I was going to say anything to him because he was a part of this team, man. I don't know if I was the only one going through that. I don't know if you could relate with that, but I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to tell this guy, because he's going to translate that I'm not enjoying myself here, that he's going to translate to the coach. I'm going to get traded. I'm going to get yelled at. I'm going to get sat. DJ's at a cancer on the team, whatever. But having individuals who are not a part of the team, that have life experience, that are willing to drop whatever it takes to help out someone on their team. Not only is it going to make coaches coach and just worry about coaches, but it's going to protect their players. And I think that is so important because, hell, man, I know from experience because I want to talk to every hockey team. I want to get in there. But coaches think everything it's okay. Their team's okay. Not only do they see it, which I don't blame the coaches, but there's something going on in these leagues. There's players struggling in these leagues that they need help. And it's so important to have guys who are not associated with this league. I could jamble on all day about this, man, but it's so important that these athletes have the right fucking help.
For sure. And I think that's why it's so important, like when we had Joe on, like active player.
Yeah.
And so, do you know what I mean? I think it just opens the door so much for guys who are still playing, like, holy shit, like, yeah, I'm going through stuff, or maybe I need to talk to my teammate Tommy to see how he's doing, because he seemed a little bit fucking off lately. Like, it just opens the door for conversation. And I think, the NHL is doing a really good job, and guys speaking up now, right? Allmark, Jarvis, these type of guys. And, because I think even 5-10 years ago, man, you speak up in that regard, and it scares teams away from taking a chance on you, regardless of the type of player you are, right? I don't think that's the case anymore. I think they've been able to curve that stigma, at least at that level. It's almost like could still be more of a stigma at the lower levels and junior and whatnot, right? So
because they're still trying to get to the
still
NHL,
trying to get there.
Yeah, the NHL players already there. Yeah,
it comes into, and I'll touch on this quick. We had our team captain, super proud of him. The director of player personnel from Red Deer Rebels talked to the coaching staff after our last game and said, want to give this kid an opportunity. Love how he plays. What type of kid is he? And you always talk about that. Saw how he could play from watching a game or two, but the first question, can you vouch for this kid?
Yeah.
And 100% we can, right? What are his parents like? That's a reflection too. And you've always spoke of that since I've known you, how important that is, and got to see it firsthand from a kid I coach, and that was very important. So, but that being said, it can almost work against maybe some of these kids if they do have struggle in their history. Do you know what I mean? And not necessarily even addiction or off ice stuff like that, but the mental health side. He's weak. Do we want to take a chance on him for 4 years at the junior level or Division I hockey, right? So, yeah, it's tricky. I think NHL done a great job, and there's a platform now for these guys.
Yeah.
But, you're coming up through the ranks. You shouldn't have to worry about whether it's going to affect your career progression or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you got to take care of the mental health. So many, like we always talk about, parents are spending money on nutritionists. They're spending money on personal trainers, all the ice time, summer hockey, all that, playing all the time. But if the kids' mental health isn't up to par, none of that matters. And it's true. And especially today's hockey, pressurized, not only coming from the sport itself, but from their peers, from their parents and everything, that these kids need to make sure they're taking care of their mental health. And it is getting better. And that's why we started this podcast, to do our part and share our experiences and to help out these athletes. I know it's helping because we've been getting some good recognition from this podcast. So we are going to take a quick 5-minute break away from the rink after podcast, The Real Talk with DJ and Gio. Welcome back away from the rink after podcast episode 9, doing some real talk with my boy G. This is probably getting pretty cool, man. I mean, it's this is a conversation that's needed. Hopefully you guys are learning something. And again, this is all from personal experience. This is all from us being open with each other, not having conversations. We always talk about how women in general, 4 or 5 of them go to someone's house. They're talking about real shit. They're talking about life problems. They're talking about family problems. They're talking about whatever, and they're helping each other out. And back in the day, if not now, man, we get together, 4 or 5 of us. We go watch a sports game at someone's house. We're all bringing a case of beer. We're not talking about anything important. Until someone gets blackout drunk, maybe squeak out a little bit, something important, but fuck, no one remembers. That was my experiences growing up. There was never real conversations, and that's why the stigma and us not being able to talk about this shit, because I was scared. I didn't know who to talk to growing up, G. So this is why we're doing it. So thank you for being vulnerable. It's making myself be vulnerable and open up about this stuff. And let's get back to her. I know you're going to open up with a question.
Yeah, and again, thanks for sharing that, man. You've had some great points today because it was it was the same for me. You know, nothing against my parents or grandparents or anything, right? Generational thing, man. Especially as men, we're supposed to shove it and not talk about that and carry on. And you know, I think it worked for a lot of men, and they're able to persevere. But for guys like you and I, like, you know, and just the way society's changed, there's just so many negative, toxic things to cling on to, not just drugs and alcohol, right? And it's like it gets hard, and we can numb with that, right? And a lot of people can control it. I couldn't. That's the reality. I tried for a lot of years to control that shit, man, and it always got away from me, and I'd burn my life to the ground. So yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, but wanted to touch on kind of a controversial topic in hockey rinks and in mainly the culture and just in our society. But I don't love the term toxic masculinity, but I think it comes up in hockey culture a little bit. I know it used to for sure coming through the ranks, but you know, even outside of the ranks, man, like what does it mean to you today to be a man, and like how does it maybe differ from the way we were raised?
We have to be the suppliers. We got to be the alpha. We show no weakness. I know it's all cliche, but it's true. You know, I remember back in the day, like my oldest brother's 6 years older than me. My other brother's 4 years older. I never thought any of my brother's friends or even my brothers had zero problems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's men, we paint a picture on our faces because we don't want to show any weakness. And we were brought up, we got to be suppliers. You know, if anything happens, any problems, situations happen to our family. I know I don't have a family, but just with that, being a man in general, you got to take care of absolutely everything. But where's the help for these men? You know what I mean? That's why it's that toxic masculinity of being that alpha, showing no weakness, because us men, we don't know how to talk or who to go to. You know what I mean? And that's how I was raised. It was never, hey, you know what I mean? It was never, hey, mom, hey, dad, want to talk about my feelings. Fuck that. I'm an athlete. I'm a man. We don't talk about those things, right? Or like, what do you think?
Yeah, for sure, man. It was very much the same for me. And you know, I had an interesting conversation with a guy earlier this week, guy I really respect. You know, non-hockey guy, but we were getting into this because I struggle with it on a personal level today. Because again, parents did the best they could, but I was raised the same way. You know, dad, blue collar worker, provider for the family, obviously make sacrifices for your kids and stuff. And that's, you know, we still try to do that today. But it was just this ingrained system of how you're supposed to do it as a man. And yeah, I don't remember my dad ever talking about struggle. He does today, though, surprisingly. And I think that's part of my journey and the relationship we have
For
today.
sure it is.
Yeah, he knows, he can say, like, you know, like, look, gee, I'm I'm struggling, but I'm showing up for life today, and you know, I love my grandkids, and that's kind of what's keeping me going. And that's just he wouldn't have said that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So and I just thought of that right now,
Yeah.
that our journeys help that dialogue even
For
with
sure it did.
family. But for me today, man, it's like, yes, because this ingrained generational thing about being the alpha, and like, and you see it all over the internet, right? Andrew Tate and these guys talking about, you know, all the women and just these women in their lives not having to work. They just provide and you know, whatever it is, get food and sex in return. And that's a generational thing. But like today for me, and this is the conversation I had with the guy that's helped change my perspective, is like, the new alpha is surrounding feelings and being able to talk about that stuff and being regulated for your partner, right? Consistency, showing up when they're struggling. How can I be supportive? that's the new alpha man. It's not all about just provide, shove my feelings, and in return I get this. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's I think that just gets lost in the
And that's
shuffle,
another
dude.
thing that you probably know, G's, because you're past. You know, that's
Yeah.
why we always reflect on our past. You know, that's why I tell everybody out there, whatever you're going through, there is light. Because look where you are now, and you didn't have that same mentality 10 years ago with this relationship and masculinity and knowing that the new tough is talking about your feelings, G. You had to go through what you had to go through to know that, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was, all I had was the upbringing and what society tells us, right? And that's all a lot of people had to go off
And
of,
you
man.
can't and I like how you said we can't blame our parents, and that's
Yep.
number one thing is I'm going to back that up. I don't blame my mom and dad.
Not for a thing, dude.
Not
No.
not a thing, because they didn't. I don't blame my grandpa and grandma. I don't blame anybody with our addictions because they didn't know. It was just the generational thing. It was suck it up and that. I tell my mom and dad, I don't blame them. I was just that good at hiding my thoughts and my feelings. And I couldn't surrender till that day I finally did. And it goes back to your family. My mom wasn't obviously we drank, but not, my parents didn't have a problem, but my mom doesn't drink anymore. We have those hard conversations. I call my mom every day, and that's because of my journey. That's because of my past. And I think and that's why it's so beautiful. I don't want beautiful, our past and how it could change into something so beautiful. You know, and we're helping people. We're helping our family members because one of us are being real and talking about our feelings and emotions. Gee, that fucking saved my life, man. And I'm a big believer of talking about the real shit. I never did, and that's why I'm so passionate on this. That's why we started this podcast, because us men have feelings too. We have problems that come in our life, and for so long we always masked it until we got blackout drunk and maybe told one of our buddies, but it never got solved. Nothing got fucking solved. And now we're having these real conversations. It saves my life. I know now that I'm never, ever going to be alone, because if something happens to me, I know who to call. And I wouldn't have any of this if I wasn't vulnerable to begin with. I wouldn't get my life back and have people in my life if I didn't surrender on June 6th of 2022. That's why we do this, man, is because we have these real conversations, because there's so many people struggling. Hell, when I get done speaking at schools, man, I get countless of kids coming up to me and sharing a little piece of their life. One kid came up to me when I was in Saskatoon. I got to share my story at the Bishop James. I went there my grade 11 year. I got expelled.
BJM. Yep.
BJM. I was at Holy Cross the previous year, but I got expelled. I didn't get invited back when I got enrolled again. And that was embarrassing enough as it is. And then I went to BGM and I got to go back to that school and share my story. One of the hardest, coolest things that I do is a cool moment for myself. A kid came up to me after and it almost broke my heart. He's like, because I'm a big guy. When I start my stories, I like sharing. I remember myself being in the back thinking this will never happen to me, joking around with my friends when there's a mental health speaker, because this will never happen to me. And this kid came up to me. He's like, DJ, thank you for sharing that. I'm that kid in the back. But I got a question for you. When I'm out of school, how am I supposed to fit in with other friends when I don't want to drink? What do I do when this happens? And it breaks my heart, because I think of myself when I was in that kid's shoes. What did I do? Well, I needed to fit in. There's not a chance in hell I was going to say no, because I didn't want to feel like a pussy in front of my friends. Yep. But this is what these kids are getting themselves into when they get older. You know, when they're still in school, I tell these guys during my story, these kids haven't learned anything life-wise until they get out of school. That's when parties come. That's when girls, boys come in their life, drugs, alcohol. That's the real test. That's why it's so important to tell these kids your stories. That's why it's so important to tell these kids, because they need to know. Because I thought I was invincible, man, when I was their age. I thought none of this shit was going to come to me. I thought I do have the best parents, family, had the best support back in the day. But the real world is when you're out of high school. You know, sorry for rambling on there, but it's one of those things where you just got to be honest with yourself and have those real conversations, and fuck, you have to surround yourself with that right people to be able to talk about those right things. I think that's another hard thing with people, man, is trying to being in these relationships with people and trying to get out of them. And what are they going to think about me? Here's a quick little story for you to get on here. To anyone listening right now. When I first got sober in Kindersley, and I went to the lake and I got sober for those 2 weeks. I came back home, and this is the hardest thing to do because people are wondering where DJ was. Why aren't you playing senior hockey? Why'd you quit Red Deer? I had to tell everybody why I was out at the lake, why I'm making this big decision that I'm a addict. The people who I was surrounding myself with, hanging out with, that I was doing my addictions, obviously they had to know that I'm being vulnerable about my feelings now. They didn't like that very much. People were talking behind my back, man. That was a hard thing. Like my homies, my good buddies back at home that I was partying with were chirping me behind my back because now DJ's sober, talking about his feelings on the internet. Like that hurt me. That was a big thing I had to overcome. And I remember getting out to Saskatoon 3 years go by. I'm still doing what I'm doing. Those people are reaching out to me asking for help. Those people that were talking about my back off the start by doing that, now they're fast forward, they're asking for help.
That's strong stuff, dude.
You know, so it's one of those things where, and again, I could have threw in the towel there. I was so worried now. DJ, people think I'm soft now. I'm not a hockey player anymore. I'm not the captain of the Inner City Clippers. I'm a soft guy who talks about his feelings on the internet. Goes back to the, you know, those thoughts and everything. And thank God I overcame that. Thank God I found the people in my right support system that I picked up my phone and made a phone call because it did not make me feel good. But thank God I had the people in my corner to get me to overcome that.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, man. And I know we fucking emphasize this so much, like sound like a broken record sometimes, but like you have to reach out, like speak up.
Have to.
It's the thing, and I hear it all the time, dude, especially in the recovery community of like, you got to keep it internal. It's a private family matter, you know? And I can understand that to some level, but if you are the one struggling, it is your responsibility to seek help. And all it takes is that one phone call. You know, if someone reaches out to me and I can't directly help them, there's someone I know that,
you're
that I
gonna
can
call,
point them
exactly.
to. I can point them to, and you get the ball rolling in that sense. And that's why I admire, one of the reasons I admire you so much is that courageousness of when you just said, fuck it. You're like, I'm just gonna go for it and say, this is what I'm doing, and broadcast it. And I know that's not, maybe you don't have to go to that level of doing it, but that's what worked for you. And that accountability piece for you was present right from day one. This is what I'm doing. And yeah, it pisses people off, man. And especially in today's age, just like you're going to get judged. And it's like, we can't let that detour us, right? It's our fucking journey. But if you are struggling, man, or if you're in it right now, or maybe you had some recovery or some clarity from mental health, but have gone back into those depths, reach out to us. Fuck. We'll point you in the right direction and do what we can. And I know we say it, literally every episode we say this, but that's what it takes. If you're in it, you got to reach out.
Yeah. And this leads to my last questions, G. I think this is very important now. Let's say your son or daughter is struggling and you don't know what to do. And let's say they did make some signs, maybe came up to you and wanted to talk, and you don't know the solution. Okay. What's something that you could tell these people to do? Because I think there's a lot of times where we tell all these kids stuff to do. We're big about asking for help, big about being vulnerable, talking to your parents. But what happens if the parents don't know? I think this is the big thing, because the parents might say the wrong thing to the kid because they don't know, and then the kids are going to go right back to what they're doing. What's something that you could say to somebody that their son and daughter is struggling and you don't know personally? I liked how you said that I guarantee you know someone in your friend group or family or in your past, and you could call and ask for help. But I think that's still a sense of feeling less than for an adult to ask another adult for help, especially when it's your own kids. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, are you saying if a youth asked me that, or their parents?
Well, yeah. Let's say your kid asks you for help, but you don't know how to handle it. Because I think there's a lot of times where parents try to figure it out on their own, but they don't have any life experience. What's something that these parents could do? What's something that they could do, such as ask for fucking help by another friend of theirs?
Yeah, well, I think the reality is, like, addiction and mental health, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but it's affecting everyone knows someone who struggles with this, whether it's family, close friend, community, right? It is prevalent today, man. And that's the reality. So yeah, if I was naive to it as a parent and didn't know, I think right away, maybe I'm biased, but I think of like what we're doing, and everyone's online today. And so it's there. I think we're long past, the Google searches or even the AIs of like trying to look this shit up. What do I do? My kid's struggling, find some real lived experience. You touched on that earlier, right? Because, dude, I've been through it on the addiction side and the mental health side. Yes, the two facet side of it with schooling and lived experience is ideal. But if I had to choose between one or the other for who I'm getting help with, no offense to the academic people out there, I'm choosing the person who's been through it every fucking time. So that would be my suggestion. You know someone who's either recovered from it or they know someone who's talking about it, and that's where I would start the journey for asking for help. Locally, you're not get I've called counseling services locally when I've been going through some other addictions, the process stuff, which I'm open about sharing of, the sex and the gambling stuff. I've reached out to get outside help with that. I mean, the cost is one thing, insane, and then the wait is the other thing. They want to do phone assessments, and it's this fucking extensive journey just to get in front of someone to talk about that shit. Where I can go online and maybe find someone, a podcast or just whatever it is, a reel for fuck's sakes, and reach out directly to that person. Say, hey man, heard what you said. I'm going through it. How can you help me? I think that's the approach I'd give to people if you're completely ignorant to it and don't know someone directly. Because the ways we've been taught as far as just, calling addictions and mental health services, I don't think the resources are there to get that immediate help.
Yeah, no, exactly. And this kind of dives in, G, I know you're open about it. I think we should talk about this. We kind of touched on the real lived experience of how I helped you out. I think we should dive into this because I think a lot of people could benefit off this. How powerful it was for you to call me and ask for help when you relapsed that one day.
Sure. Yeah, man. It's 18 months ago now, but it seems like yesterday in a lot of ways. And for those who don't know, I mean, I've been clean and sober for 8 of the last 10 years, but I've had some really hard slips in there, some short-lived slips, and caused a lot of damage. And my most recent relapse was less than 2 weeks, 10 or 11 days, but I was in it deep. I was completely isolated. I was cut off from my children. The phone was off for the majority of it. It was just me using by myself at home, wanting to die, too scared to do it. Dude, it was fucking dark. And I think like towards the end of that, I started reaching out to you because again, I knew you'd been there, and we already had, a solid friendship. And I remember, dude, like the craziest thing I remember from it is you hadn't been to my current residence at that time, so you didn't know physically where I was.
You wouldn't give me your address.
And I would not. I feel it took like 2 or 3 days before I finally sent it to you, right? And I was just like, because I knew the party was over again. And again, it goes back to that obsessive mental side of this fucking disease, man, that convincing me you call him or you give him that address, you don't get to use anymore. Yeah. And it's like, holy fuck, dude. And so thank goodness I was able to send it to you and you came over, and I mean, it may have seemed small to you, man, but it arguably saved my life. I mean, again, I just finished talking about these lack of resources in the community. That's the other thing. Someone wants to go to treatment or detox right now. Good luck. You're waiting multiple weeks or months. How fucked is that? And I was ready, and the best you could find in the entire city was just an overnight situation where they would take me overnight, a safe place in literally just a room to dry out, to come off that shit overnight. And I just sat at the edge of the bed, man, in that facility, like didn't sleep the whole night. I just sat at the edge of the bed, came off it. But again, it was a safe place. You and I made a game plan. Call me in the morning. I'll come get you. And again, thankfully, because of my previous stints of solid recovery, I knew exactly what I had to do. Yeah. And for me, that was, safe place, fully detox, and then get back to the 12-step rooms, because that's all that's worked for me. That's been the foundation for me. So I knew to get back involved with that. And then, here we are almost 2 years later, and things are starting to take care of themselves again. But yeah, dude, you already know the level of appreciation I have for you for helping me in that spot, because I was alone and isolated and was ready to be actually done, man. Like, suicidal was definitely a part of the equation. Like, Are people, just the things we think of, are people better off if I'm not around? I remember asking myself that. How fucked is that?
Yeah.
With two daughters, man, you know, parents who have done everything for me and stood by me, and me convincing myself they're better off if I'm not around. And I mean, that's addiction in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I mean, gee, like the you spoke up, you asked for help. I think that is kind of why I wanted to ask you that, because that is the hardest thing obviously to do, but for you to ask for help at that time, man, that's what it's all about. You know, you called the right person, and I dropped everything, man. I knew you were struggling because you weren't answering your phone. Obviously, when you have that close circle, you make those phone calls, and you weren't getting back to me, and yeah, you finally gave me your address. I went down there and got you out of your house and took you there. It was definitely an eye opener for me because I haven't been to those dry out centers before, but I was going to do anything for you. I was going to make sure you were okay. And yeah, the next morning I picked you up, and your dad came and met us at my house and took you. And then you've been sober ever since. And obviously I can't relate because I haven't relapsed, G, but like, are you almost thankful that you have been through this? Because you're a strong motherfucker now. I could see a big change in you because now you have a sense of passion. Now you're getting back in the hockey games. But before that, you're still trying to find your ways. I remember that. And now you went through that, you went through that relapse, and now you're a new man. So I almost think it's almost beneficial you maybe had to experience that to find who you are today.
100%, dude.
Yeah.
And I try to share that with, you talked earlier about just telling your story, and yeah, you see people come and go a lot in this circle, and fuck, dude, the reality is a lot of people don't make it back. And that's something I didn't realize till I'd been around for a couple years, is that people actually die, and people die, and I could die, and maybe should have died, and it's like we almost downplay that reality. But yeah, of course, man. Because it's really hard to come back, just in general, like even to your immediate circle, like
Yeah.
even to call you and just admit to you that I had fucked up again, or I had turned to substance to deal with life, right? That's, even before asking for help, just to tell you I was fucked up is really hard. And then for people to actually come back or take the actions to try to get well again a day at a time, it's really hard for a lot of people. And I think it prevents a lot of people from actually becoming willing again. So yes, I think that helped shape me. And I've shared this before on here, man. Like I've had 3 years sober. I've had 2 years sober a couple different times. Like I said, 8 of the last 10 years. But this 18 months and change has been the best quality of recovery I've had through any of those, because fully honest, transparent, vulnerable, you taught me that as being the biggest piece. And then just rid of these other vices too, like the fucking womanizing and the gambling and just these other areas I would cling on to deal with life that are just as addictive or toxic.
Yeah.
And I've struggled with that stuff, right? And it's like, what are you willing to do, man? What are you willing to do to deal with life in a healthy way? And thank God, by doing the next right thing, the hockey opportunity comes up.
Yep.
Now the work opportunity, being in the recovery space again professionally, has
People,
come
places, things, boy.
It's like, dude, I made a phone call, and then a guy I played hockey with in PA over 20 years ago kind of knew a bit of my story. We, acquaintances, good friends. And he's just like, hey man, would love to have you come out.
See, that happens though, and that's why you believe in that man upstairs, dude, because he knows that you're working on yourself. People, places, things come at you at the right time, G.
Yeah, it's who you surround yourself with.
100%,
and it works, and it can work against you too.
100%.
When you're surrounding it with people, places, things, you can get into a lot of shit too. And I think we had to learn that the hard way, brother. But yeah, it's been a journey, man, and I'm grateful we could do this today.
Yeah, no, this is a big conversation. I think it's needed. I know someone out there that's listening is going to benefit off this. We're going to be doing this once a month. I think it's very important that me and G kind of ask each other questions to get vulnerable, because I know it saved my life, and I know it's a big portion of G's life. So if any of you guys have any questions, if any of you guys have any concerns, please give us an email at podcastofficial@gmail.com. But this is episode 9 of Away from the Rink After Podcast with myself, DJ McGrath, and my co-host, Giovanni Flaminio. If any of you guys out there that are struggling right now, I always say it, pick up that darn phone and make that phone call, because we are never alone. We are never alone. It's okay to not be okay. All right, guys, you guys have a great week, and until next time.